Let's take a ride, boys.
I think if you look at all 5 films, I feel like this franchise has been able to grow and evolve and mature. And I really wanted to push it a little bit more on this one. If you look at the design of the cars, there's no more neon lights. It's not about the flash. It's really about the engine. It's about the car and how it performs. So a lot of the cars that you see have to be worked in functionally.
All right, $1 million quarter mile. What do you say, Dom?
We talking or we racing?
Even in the Corvette in the very beginning, it was there for a story reason. It wasn't that Dom picked it out. It was there and he had to use it. That's what I really wanted to push this franchise toward.
I think we've done really well with car casting. We brought back the Supra. That's one of the best Japanese cars ever built.
I think the tone's gonna be off on this.
We had the R34 in multiple episodes. Brian just loves the Nissan Skyline. I like what the choices this time around. And I was especially happy about this one.
Held the record on the FND to 3 years running.
How about that? All motor, no tuning issues. I always wanted one of those.
I remember telling Paul, like, you're gonna be able to drive a Porsche, and I just saw the smile on his face. And it was never appropriate before, but in this one, we had the right scene for it.
That will be the hero slide.
Okay. All right, going again. I like the rear-wheel drive, rear-engine 911 Porsches. It's just kind of understood that that's one of the more difficult platforms to really master, but once you get it, it's one of the best.
They're 2000, 2001 911s with all the GT body on it and paintwork. We've put some locking differentials in them because there's going to be a lot of basically drifting shots with that.
It's so fast. And it defies all physics. That's the beauty of it. I'm glad that we got it in.
Yo, how'd I do?
We're gonna need a faster car.
One of the highlights of our movie is a $1 million race. Tyrese had to show off as usual and turn on his police lights.
Typical Roman.
Yeah, we love it.
The $1 million race scene, you have this 4 equal 2011 Chargers all there in their full glory and police regalia, you know. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's a great scene to see the sexiness of the car and then the 4 drivers really kind of having this battle.
Don't make it too easy for me, boys.
We've turned down so many requests to partner up with car companies because I just never felt like it was appropriate. On this one, it was appropriate because they were gonna have to be police cars that ultimately gets converted, and it was a perfect brand.
Dodge basically gave us 2 brand new 2011 Chargers and enough parts to make our own 2011 Chargers. But they look great, they perform great.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
We got to really get up in the high end of it where these Chargers were really going fast. One of the things we had there is this vehicle called the C2, and it has a huge, big arm on the top of it.
Here, let me just see him make a run at it and see how much this thing bounces.
That is maneuvered by a remote guy inside the vehicle with him. What that gives you is we can drive head-on at traffic, and with the arm extended out over traffic, we can be over the Chargers and see other guys coming underneath the arm and underneath camera at speed. It's threading the needle, and this gives you that effect without having to stick your neck out there.
It's a great concept, and it worked perfect. And then, of course, they turned them into the Vault Heist cars. They were all SRT8s that we used for the Vault, just because those are the ones that we really needed to perform.
That Vault that we're pulling out would just weigh a ton. You couldn't do that with the lightweight car. You know, you want to be able to put down as much traction as possible.
Obviously, we had to get real beefy tires on. And the effects department built a frame around the Chargers and tied an entire back bumper cage where this thing could support that kind of weight.
And those, the ones that we had, were set up all-wheel drive. You know, it's a big, heavy car with a lot of power.
We work very hard, I think, every time when we make these films to pick the cars as the extension of the characters. Hobbs, trying to make him the iconic kind of figure coming into Rio, we needed an indestructible car that could match Dwayne's physical presence. I mean, Dwayne is a huge guy, and he got even bigger to do this film. And so anything less than the Gurkha would look silly. It would look like a clown car.
If there's anything we can do to help,
stay the out of my way. When I met with Justin, and Justin says, okay, listen, I got the perfect car for your character. What is it? It's a 10-ton Gurkha. Great. I love it. It is a badass, absurdly large vehicle. It was very appropriate for Hobbs and for his men. It's 10-ton of opening up drums and barrels of whoop ass.
It's basically a Ford F550 chassis is what it is. It's an F550, but it weighs twice as much. And then they fabricate their own armor-plated body on top of it. So the performance would be equivalent to an F550 towing a large trailer.
You can't get to 60 in 3.2 seconds in it, but once it gets going, it's pretty powerful.
It was a great choice, but it was tough many times because it's just so huge. And trying to drive it through some of the streets leading up to the favela, it got a little hairy at times.
Action! It's like one lane. The Gurkha fills this entire road. And Justin, he wanted the Gurkhas to jump over these rises and come down the hill. So we tried 4 different versions of shock absorbers, and I blew all 4 of them.
I can appreciate the fast cars and Fast and Furious and those sports cars, but and at the end of the day, I'll take that Gurkha. That Gurkha will crush those cars in a second. May not be able to catch them, but it ever does, you're done. You're toast.
That's awesome. Cool. Is that the crash ball? Yeah, it's great. Right.
It was funny because I knew always that if you're going to introduce the Gurkha, it's going to have to interact with the Charger. I think Hobbs understood the significance of the Charger for it to be an integral part of the story point, in the 3rd act. That was something that we needed.
It means something more than just a ride. I love the fact that it's the car that killed his father. Like, that has a lot of resonance to it.
That he wouldn't let them junk it, even though it is a goddamn curse.
There's a scene in the movie where Mia says to Dom that the car is a curse. So there is that unspoken feel about that car that the Charger, at some point, irony is at some point that Charger's got to get out of your life.
I mean, that is an analog of Dom's soul. It's like samurai. Samurai always believed that their sword was their soul. And if your sword broke, then your soul was broken. You had to fix it. And these guys, they are street samurai. These are their swords.
I smell a new Charger coming. I smell a new Charger coming with Dom written on the side.
Vin Diesel definitely likes the Charger.
Home sweet home.
This is basically what we start with when we buy a Charger. Really just a bare shell. We completely strip everything out of the car, front to rear. Wiring, fuel system, powertrain. We replaced most of the body panels, the floor pan, the trunk. I tried to give the car a little bit, an updated look. New suspension, complete coilover design. The car will sit lower. That weather looks like as though it's driven all the way to South America. The blower was removed because now he's trying to operate in a low-profile fashion. We actually have a brand-new Chrysler Hemi with a cross ram on it, but it's still the same car. Definitely has some attitude to it. It was a brand-new semi and flipped in Fast and Furious 1. Fast and Furious 4, it hit a wall in a tunnel and exploded. So it rejuvenates itself every show. It just doesn't want to die. If there's a 6, I bet it'll be back, but we'll see what happens.